And now let's go ahead and dive right into this MMA slate here with Kevin. This is the 11-game slate. You guys might have noticed last week I wasn't there. If you didn't, you probably didn't watch the video. But for anybody who's watching our channel or who watches it religiously, thank you so much for that. But also, you'll notice I haven't been doing a lot of content. I just started up recently again, dealing with the issue in my face. If you guys have been keeping up, you know exactly what it is. But I do have Bell's palsy. So for the next couple weeks, hopefully sooner, I am not able to move the rest of the right side of my face. So bear with me. A lot of the words are going to sound weird coming out. And thank goodness Kevin's been talking, or he's going to be talking the entire video because I'm not going to be able to. But Kevin, thank you so much for covering last week's content. I know it was tough by yourself. But that being said, I am back here. You just have to ignore my lip and the right side of my face here. I also want to go over real quick a new update we had to our MMA cheat sheet. If you guys look here, very straightforward. Now we have sortable columns where you can sort by ownership and our projections. All this will be going over here in just a second. Not to jump too far ahead, Kevin, but also I'm not going to give this away. But each time we plug away here on Matt's cash core or Kevin's cash core, we'll give you our favorite core plays, Kevin's favorite GBP plays. If I click on it here, he hasn't loaded his in, obviously, so there's nothing here. But that will it will condense your player pool to his favorite plays, which we will talk about. And again, these plays do change up through lock. Okay, so this is a new update we rolled out. This is also the exact same format for NBA, NFL, all the other sports that we cover. So feel free if you guys want to sign up. The links are in the description. Only $20 a month gives you access to all this for every single sport. But without further ado, let's go ahead and focus on this current slate. Kevin, let's go ahead and recap last week's slate because I know it was a banger.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. I'll tell you this too, and I'm sure everyone else can attest to this who watched the video. I am dog shit at ownership and that kind of stuff without you. So I definitely, there was so many times I had to backtrack and do the ownership and all that stuff, and I'm not complete without you, Matt. So definitely glad to have you back.
Well, we complete each other. We're really good at balancing each other out. And same with me and TJ. TJ just doesn't shut up, and I just stay in the back and do all the analysis. And the same thing with you. You guys just talk too much.
Yeah,
so
it's good.
Really
I was going to say
out.
it's good because you can do the info and stuff like that, and then TJ can balance that with just being annoying and
exactly. Pretty much, I'm the nerdy side behind you guys, and you guys are the clear cut, more better looking human beings. So.
Yep. I can't disagree with that. So anyway, going through UFC 268. UFC 268, amazing, Matt. Absolutely lived up to the hype. I'm not sure if you got to watch many of these fights. I think we briefly touched on it. I can't remember what you said. But did you get to watch any of these fights?
I watched the good ones. So I watched the last one. Hold on, I'm still loading my page. There it is. I always click on the wrong one, the library one. But yes, I watched some of it. I watched the important ones. So
okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, it was as long as you're watching important ones, that's all that matters.
I watched the last three. I missed the Gaethje one. I did miss the Gaethje one. That was the one you had to fill me in on. But I had to watch. Well,
that one sucks because it had to start. It doesn't suck, but it sucked that it had to go because Trevor Whitman coaches Gaethje and Thug Rose and has been working with Usman and stuff, and they wanted him to be able to coach his fighters and not go back to back to back. You know, you got to prep your fighters for a championship fight. You can't just be like, yo, I'm in Gaethje mode. I'm versus, you're thinking about like Chandler and Gaethje and everything that's going on in that fight, and how to counter Michael Chandler. That's your goal. Counter Michael Chandler. Counter Michael Chandler. And then it's like instantly into Thug Rose. So they wanted to give him some space in between the fights. That would be the reasoning why. But it didn't. We'll go through it. But anyway, that was a fight I was texting my buddies minute by minute, like, get to a fucking stream, get to a TV, get to something, rent it. $70 for that fight alone. Like, go. And they were like, is it really? I'm like, go. Like, go, yes. But yeah, anyway, going through the fights, first I said was live. I liked Osborne. He did get the win, didn't do well in the win, and that'll be the folly of 125-pounders. Sometimes they have trouble, finishing and stuff, but usually they can at least get that pace going. It was kind of neither, but he did get the dub. Melsick, I would consider a pretty big disappointment. I really thought with his elite striking in a win, he would at least smoke in a decision, but he was too tentative. I think he was just worried about those takedowns, so he didn't overextend or overcommit, and he won a pretty crappy decision. Jacoby looked good, but his price tag scared me. He did look good. He's a very, very good striker, Dustin Jacoby. He didn't clear, I'm assuming, because he was too expensive, and that's why I didn't like him. Okay, what'd he score?
91, still not bad.
No, yeah, that's definitely not clearing that. But yeah, he's a good fighter. Like I said, if he's cheaper, I might have taken him. But Barnett and Gian Vellante, did you watch that one, Matt?
I did not. I heard. Trust me, I saw the comments on it.
I was gonna say. So he's like, he's a thick boy. He doesn't look like.
Oh wait, is this the spinning back kick thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was crazy. Definitely gave him a green light, and Vellante as well. Not my two favorite heavyweights of all time. I don't necessarily trust Barnett's talent. I don't trust Vellante's power or ability, to be honest. Vellante just is hot and cold. And heavyweight, he looks like he's just packed it in. He just looks fat. But yeah, I mean, it was still a nasty knockout. It was beautiful, well timed. It's funny too, because like I'll be honest, Matt, I was thinking the same thing. All the announcers were like, sometimes like I was looking at him, and he does all these fancy things. He does his like, he moves pretty well for his size, and more so than you'd think he would, looking like him. And I'm like, he's just touching him. He's just touching him. He's not putting anything on him. So it's like, it's almost like a farce. It's like, there's no point to doing it. And the announcers, it's funny. As soon as I was thinking that, the announcers right after were like, yeah, this all looks good, but is he really landing anything significant? And
Right.
all of a sudden, then he hits this beautiful spinning wheel kick and just cracks him. And it was like, okay. Yeah, so that was beautiful. But anyway, next was Gary and Williams. That was a banger. Jordan Williams got out front early. Gary came back, lived up to the hype a little bit with a beautiful counter straight, put the lights on Williams, showed why he had the hype train behind him. Edmund Shabazian was one of my favorite punts, or not punts. He was an underdog. He was 7,700, I think, on the card, and that was it. He's forever trash. I'm done with him. He's just overhyped trash. That's all it is. I mean, I figured, you lose to Derek Brunson, whatever. You lose to, who was the next one? Jack Hermanson, I think, whatever. But losing to Imavov like that, and just, I don't know, he was always in trouble, always finding himself on the wrong end of like a choke or something. He just looks like shit. He just looks like shit. So I'm done with Edmund. Hawes versus Curtis was everything I expected it would be. I said Hawes would be the better fighter. I said watch out for Curtis's power. Hawes was the better fighter for sure, and Curtis had that elite power and landed it. He landed the shot, man. Sometimes it takes one, and he landed it. And poor Phil Hawes was on the receiving end of that. So, he had real power. You got to respect. Bobby Green, Matt, I said was live because of how well he scores in decisions and for his pricing. Bobby Green hasn't had a fight go to a finish, or a fight not end in a decision, in over 10 fights. Guess what Bobby Green did?
Mm-hmm.
Knocks him out, of
I
course.
see that.
So it was like, yeah, I'm glad I lived him for his pace. Of course, he fucking knocks out Al Iaquinta, but you can't write that. I mean, it's the right choice to not expect a finish there. But shit happens. It's MMA.
He was
You never
low
know.
owned too. So
Yeah, probably. That's probably why. But yeah, whatever. He looked good in the process. Good fighter, and just a little frustrating he got the finish there. Pereira and Andreas was everything we expected, Matt. Andreas got to his wrestling. He was one of my favorite punts on the slate because I figured he would have a distinct advantage on the ground over Pereira, and he did. He took him down a couple times, 2 or 3 times. Did everything he was supposed to do. It's just tough, man. Alex Pereira is ridiculous, Matt. He's knocked out Izzy Adesanya. He's beaten him in a decision before in kickboxing. I don't know if you know Alex Pereira, Matt, but he's kind of got a little hype train behind him now because he is, he's someone who's one of, I think, 3 men ever to beat. Maybe I'm wrong. Izzy might have a couple more losses on his kickboxing record, but I know, 1 or 2 or 3 men ever to beat Izzy to my knowledge, in any combat sport. So obviously we know Jan beat Izzy, but besides that, he's been perfect in MMA. And Alex Pereira, I think, is the only person to finish Izzy. So everyone was super hyped when he came in with that kickboxing pedigree, and we saw it, Matt. It only takes one from. He's like Melsick, but he's better. He's way better, in my opinion, on his feet. He landed just that one quick little flying knee and just put the lights out. And he's got that kind of raw power where, like, I just hope he keeps working on his wrestling, keeps working on his defense, because he might be, and I'm not just saying this because of history and, that he's fought Izzy, he might have the best style for Izzy, because he might turn Izzy to a wrestler. You know what I mean? We haven't seen someone who's able to strike with Izzy. And I think Pereira can, not just because he's beaten him before striking. I just think because of his pedigree and just watching him eye test, he's just very fucking good on his feet. But Gaethje and Chandler lived up to the hype, Matt. Simply put, that may have been the best 3-round fight I've ever seen in my life. Absolutely amazing. Michael Chandler is a savage. I think his stock went through the roof after that fight. A lot of people are hesitant with Michael Chandler.
Right? Like
he almost
5
died.
times.
Yeah, he's tough as nails, man. He's so tough. And I think people are a little bit off the Michael Chandler train, or were historically, because he talks kind of like a fucking self-help book, and he's just kind of corny to listen to and this and everything. But you got to give that man some respect. I think his stock went up. He was tough as nails. It was everything we thought it would be. Gaethje was just a little bit more savvy on his feet, a little bit more savvy, a little less leading with his chin, a little more technical, a little more slip and counter. And but it was a great fight,
Didn't
man.
Gaethje almost get knocked out a couple times?
I was going to
too?
say Chandler landed his shots, man. He landed his shots, so he got his snuffs in. Don't worry. But he looked awesome. Another absolute banger, Matt, was Burgos and Billy Q. Both live here because their pace. I liked both. Another absolute banger. I think Burgos put on a pace I've never seen him put before. On a different night, Matt. That's the fight of the night without Gaethje and Chandler. And Dana talked about that too, but it was a really good fight. Then poor Frankie Edgar was next. Bad. He was my punt. He was one of my best #1 punts on the card. And he looked awesome. He did Frankie Edgar things as a punt. We took him as a punt last time against Pedro Munoz. He looked awesome as a punt this time, and he got Frankie Edgar. His chin is just a little bit suspect now. He got, I believe, front kicked by Cheeto, and that was it. Night, Frankie Edgar. So that kind of sucked, but yeah, it is what it is. I said stack Rose and Zhang in cash.
Yeah.
They smoked that in another instant classic. I could see them fight again. They're 1 and 2 in the division. I don't think you need to you got to call a spade a spade. I mean, everyone gets their shot, but come on, they're the best 2 fucking girls in the weight class. They're amazing. They're absolutely studs. So Rose impressed me. She looked awesome. I think she looked very good. She looked complete, which was great to see. Her wrestling looked good. She took Zhang down a couple times. Zhang looked fucking good. It was an awesome fight, man. What did Rose score?
Rose scored 100.8.
And what did Zhang score?
Zhang scored 80.51.
In a loss.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. That's
look how even that was.
That's one of the best stacks I've heard of. 180 stack is great. That's 2 winners. Split that to 90-90. That's
Shane and Billy actually looked fantastic too for a stack. 119 and 75,
that's crazy for Billy to get 75 in a
3 round. Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. It happens. It does happen. But again, those guys are bombs.
Now, do we stack in GBPs? No, we still don't do that.
Never.
Exactly.
Never. Well, I shouldn't say never. I don't know, Matt. On a small card,
a couple times, and it depends on the contest. But really big GBPs, you're rarely ever going to find that. We've only seen it happen once.
And I'll say this, Matt. I wouldn't hesitate twice. And this is not a hindsight thing. If this was a 9-fight slate and there was one 5-round fight and it was Zhang versus Rose, I would say stack it in GPP.
Yes,
because there's a decent chance.
But again, 9's a bit extreme. We've only seen a couple 9 rounds.
Yeah, a couple.
9.
Yeah, but you never know pullouts. I mean, this one started as a 12 or 13. It's down to 11. But yeah. Anyway, that fight was electric. More electrics was probably Usman and Covington. That was my favorite fight on the card, even though more so than Gaethje and Chandler. That was a great fight. That was just 2 dudes throwing leather. Usman and Covington. I could watch that fight every fucking weekend until I die, Matt. I could watch them fight every single weekend. It's so fun every single time. I think Usman looked awesome. He got out to a lead a bit early. Probably won a 10-8 in that second round, I believe. I think he knocked him down twice in 1 round. Kobe debatably took round 3, 4, and 5. I mean, I don't know. It was a really close fight, Matt. I think Usman won. I think that was the right call. Gun to my head, 100%. I don't think too many people would dispute that. I mean, he got 2 knockdowns. He definitely won rounds 1 and 2. And he's the champ. There is the champ thing where if it's close, they're going to give it to the champ. So by that standard, I definitely think Usman won. He looked awesome. Kobe came back. I think Kobe started, I don't even know what necessarily it's a mix between technique and chaos, because he started kind of turning it into a fight late, in mid-range to late fight, but it was technical too. He did everything well with his level changes, mixing up his takedowns. One thing that pissed me off, and it's just from an objective standpoint, Matt, is Usman has 100% takedown defense, okay? Historically. Kobe took him down debatably twice in that fight. One was abso-fucking-lutely. Daniel Cormier was talking. Daniel Cormier was an Olympian wrestler, one of the best coaches in the country we have right now for wrestling. And he's like, that was takedown. That's 2. He took him down. He, knees on the ground, he had his weight on his hands. He took him down, and they didn't credit him for a takedown. So he still has 100% takedown defense, and Kobe's pissed about that.
Right.
But I could watch those 2 fight every weekend. It's 1A, 1B. I mean, no one can give Usman a fight like that. As much as he hates Kobe, no one can give Usman. And shout out to Usman, too. He's a fucking animal. He's so good, man. He's on his way to be the GOAT. He really is. And I think Kobe only propels that because of how good Kobe is. I love GSP. GSP is one of my GOATs, if not the GOAT. But he also beat up a lot of fucking tuna cans in there. You know what I mean? Right. A lot of shit bags in there. So, if Usman keeps beating up Kobe Covingtons and, Gilbert Burns and, it's his name's going to get solidified. But anyway, let's get into this 11 fight slate.
Kevin, that was the longest I've ever heard you cover a last slate, but I think the people wanted it, so I didn't stop
hype about it, bro. 260 was fire. I was so excited for it. It was fire. It lived up to the hype.
I'm sorry, guys. I couldn't be there.
I'm telling you, I got a MMA poster. I still got to hang up back here that I bought, and you know what? I think it's right here. Is it right here, actually? I got
nice.
less right here. Oh no, this is it. Can you guys see this?
Oh, I can. Yep. Yeah, there you go. Yep. Usman versus Covington. The entire card.
That was my favorite fight. That's my favorite fight one. So fucking love that.
Just to prove to you guys that Kevin is actually an MMA fan. He's not a fraud. So.
No, I don't spend money on. I would never spend $8 on a poster to be a fraud.
On a piece of piece of paper.
Yeah, no, I gotta hang that up because I might get this one too. I just love those two. They're two of my favorite fighters. They're awesome. They're so fun to watch, and the fact we get to watch them fight each other is a treat for everyone. And I know people don't like Covington because he's a prick. People don't like Usman because they think he's boring or he's like, fake or this, that, and the other thing, which there's truth in both of those things. Covington's a prick and Usman can be fake. And Kobe's fake. Kobe's fake shit. But they're fucking awesome. Shut up and enjoy the fight. They're fucking awesome.
That's all we care about at the end of the day.
Exactly. If you let that affect you, you're not a real MMA fan. Moving on, though, in this card map, we got Kennedy Zachukwi, or as I say it different every single time he fights, versus Jang Da-un. Love this fight off the rip. It's going to be a love lister, Matt. I'll tell you right now, this card has very, very low finish chances compared to other cards. It's one of the lowest ones I've ever seen. We're looking at, I'm just going to give you a quick synopsis here. 170, 2 minus 170s, Matt, is the highest finish chance. And then we're looking at like a minus 120 is the next one. Wow. And then mad expected to go to decision. Mad of them are expected to go to decision. So that's, something to think about. But so that's why this is going to be a love lister off the rip. Great pricing. Both guys crack. Both guys, this is a volatile GPP fight. Both of these guys, Matt, they're not super good scores in decision. We've seen both of them fall flat of that. We've seen Kennedy fall flat of that. We've seen Jang Da-un fall short of that. But they just hit hard, Matt, and I don't love either of their paces, but these guys both have one tool in their toolbox. It's a hammer, and these guys are power punchers, so you're going to need a finish here, I think, even on a short slate, but it's more likely than not. So I like both sides of this. It's pretty even. It's a near even line. I'm not going to say anyone has a distinct advantage here, Matt. There really isn't one.
All right. Well, not taking a stance here. Neither is the public. 29.9% on Jung, and on Kennedy, 26.4%. So it looks like, slightly higher on $8,300. We're going to be looking at the benchmark percentage in terms of ownership here. It is down here at 31.6, so anything lower than that, which puts both of these guys in GBP territory, Kevin. So yes, I do like this for GBPs as well.
Yeah, so the benchmark's 31.6, is that what you said?
Yep.
Cool. All right, that makes sense. So yeah, I like that. I think it's got a good leverage, and again, that one could blow up in your face. I'm not going to sit here and tell you couldn't, but it could also be the highest one on the slate. You could see a quick finish bonus. You could see an early knockout, and like I said, like if on a slate like this, Matt, like you might not need anything more than a second round knockout. You know what I mean? Even a third round knockout where you score a cool 91 or something. That'll probably make the optimal on this one, realistically.
Right.
I'd say half of the winners will be under 91, just historically speaking. Moving on, though, we got Mark Akisi versus Raphael Alves. I'm going to put Akisi as the favorite here. I'm going to put him in a cool green. He can do well. He's a technical striker. He's usually a lock for 3+ takedowns and a win. He's a middle-of-the-road fighter. I'd probably keep him yellow, Matt, just because he doesn't finish too much, and I still have my concerns for him, especially when the fight goes to the ground. But I will say the thing moving the needle here is the opponent. If you recall a couple weeks ago, Matt, it was Jai Herbert versus, I believe, Kama Worthy. And Jai Herbert is kind of that Mark Akisi where I wouldn't take him traditionally or love him traditionally, but his opponent will change that. And that's one of these scenarios where Raphael Alves is going to move the needle from Mark forward for me. Alves is a glass cannon, Matt. Despite a plus 120 finish chance here, I think someone does get finished here. It's not bad, but I do think someone gets finished here. I think it's even better than that. Alves, I'll put him green too because he's dangerous everywhere, but he's a glass cannon, Matt. I mean, you look at, here, I'll just bring up
He's only had one UFC fight, correct, Alves?
Correct. He's had one, and that was a loss by decision, so maybe that's kind of swaying things a little bit. But historically, Matt, he has 19 wins, 14 are finishes. He's got 10 losses, 9 are by finish. So, yeah, his only decision loss was to Damir Ismagulov in his UFC debut. So I definitely think, there's, and Ismagulov has a lot of decisions. He can knock people out, but he can't sub people.
I see why you're saying all this. Okay.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. I think this is a fight that people are sleeping on a little bit. Again, could fall short of expectation, but it'll be the least surprising thing in the world if this one ends in a finish to me.
Akisi, is that how you pronounce his name?
I say Akisi. I've always said Akisi.
We're calling Mark. It is 26.9% ownership below that benchmark, and Alves is 9.2. That's very, very low here. That looks to be the second lowest on the card in terms of ownership.
I don't hate it.
That's like surprisingly low.
I mean, like I said, he's a glass cannon. Akisi's only been finished one time, and it was a submission. So I don't know necessarily, and it was a good fighter in Dan Hooker. I definitely think Mark is the better fighter here, and that's probably why. Just on paper with experience. I mean, I think Mark's a pretty good fighter. I actually had him in his last fight against Raphael Fiziev, and he kind of let me down because I think he's a pretty good fighter, Matt. But I don't know. So I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of loads him up and wins. So, but both sides of this are pretty good. I think Mark can score really well here. I really do. More than let me put it this way. Whatever his average is in a win, his ceiling is higher in this matchup. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like you have yourself. I'll give you a fantastic analogy. Okay, it's like you have a Josh Jacobs who can do well, but he's really a little bit better than middle of the road. But he's facing the worst run D in the NFL.
Right.
So
no, that makes sense.
That's basically what
and
we're
I still wouldn't be on
so.
Josh Jacobs, so anyway. Yeah.
So then you won't be on Akisi. Yeah, as I said, I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna deter people.
Yeah, you're like, well.
Yeah, moving on, we got Courtney Casey versus Lyanna Joe. I hate this fight, Matt, for the most part. I feel so shitty taking Courtney Casey as a favorite. It reminds me of like taking a random Marcos or a Tim Elliott or something. You know, one of these people who just is kind of shitty as a fighter. Like she's not that good, in my opinion. And she's got a very near even professional record, if not even, and it's just like, you want me to pay up $8,800 for someone, I want to feel confident in them winning. You know what I mean? Especially looking at like Akisi, I feel much more confident in him winning around the same price tag. Especially where like I think Lyanna is pretty fucking dangerous. I'm gonna yellow Casey here. And she's pretty close to red.
Really?
She's so damn inconsistent, never scores too well, even if she wins. If this slate wasn't down to 11 fights, Matt, I'd probably red light her. And the low chances all around here, that's going to push the needle too. But I'll give Casey a yellow. I think that's more than fair. Lyanna is going to be actually green here because I think Casey's trash, and I think she has a huge advantage on the ground here. Casey can be submitted. We've seen it. And Lyanna is a beast on the ground. So I'm going to green light Lyanna Joe, and I'm going to be avoiding a lot of Casey for the most part here, Matt.
Okay, so you're not trusting the ownership here. Courtney Casey 25.7, which is a bit higher than I'd like it to be here. Lyanna at 13.4, so it looks like you're all over Lyanna in terms of leverage.
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty good about that. Do you have, I'm sure you do, you have Courtney Casey's scores and wins, right?
I do.
Why don't you read them off to me real quick?
94.8.
Solid.
And just wins, right? And
yep, just wins.
Yeah, I see she only has one knockout. Okay, 83.63.
Yeah.
87.43.
Okay, so she only has 3 on there.
107.
Okay.
111. Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I'm looking at them.
Hit or miss. It's like 50-50. I feel like 50 of those would make the optimal, 50% wouldn't. You know what I mean? So, especially on this low slate.
I was about to say, especially on this lower one.
In those 200-point victories, were they finishes or not?
The one was a finish. The other was not a submission.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, submission.
I guess keep her yellow. Might be, a decent fade if, she does carry that much ownership, then it would push the needle more for me, just because give you some leverage. I'm just not super high on her, Matt. I don't want to spend up on, I get at the end of the day, we're talking volatile, we're talking GPP, we're talking people that can score well and give us leverage. But at the end of the day too, do you want to pay up for someone who has a fucking solid chance of losing? But again, it sucks because
if it makes you feel any better, I have industry projections on here. They're projecting for 82.5. So
okay, that's good. And if she gets that, I do feel pretty damn good she doesn't make the optimal that price tag even on this slate. But it is the random Marcos thing, Matt. It is the random Marcos thing. I was all shitting on random Marcos, and for good reason. Like, this isn't like, there's things that are opinion and not opinion, Matt. Courtney Casey's not a good fighter. That's not an opinion. That's just a fact. Like, she's not a good fighter, but Random Marcos isn't a good fighter too. Random Marcos in her last fight, Matt, scored like 110. She decided to learn how to fight that day. You know what I mean? Like, right. It can happen. So I'm not saying it can't happen. Stranger things have happened. So do consider that, but I probably still will fade her for the most part. I think it's the smarter decision here.
Gotcha.
Especially with that helps that, she's projected 82.5. Moving on, we have Sean Woodson versus Colin Anglin. This is a tough card, man. It's just tough. I don't know what to do with this one. I think Woodson's a good fighter, Matt.
You will after I read the ownership.
Really? Okay. Yeah. He really finishes like shit though in Sean Woodson, and he hasn't wowed me with his pace, which sucks. I do think he's a technically sound fighter. He has Colin Anglin, who is a physical kid. They're kind of different here. Anglin just ran into Melsick in his UFC debut, got washed. I feel like both these guys are low-key live, Matt, but they couldn't be, farther apart in style and size. And Anglin's kind of like a muscular, athletic fighter. He's going to bring that the power and the pace. Woodson is going to pick his shots. I mean, his nickname is a sniper, I think, and it's apropos. He is an absolute sniper. He's like, if you saw these guys in the street and you'd think Woodson was the favorite, Matt, you'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Woodson looks like a junkie accountant, like, and Anglin just looks like, you know, a bodybuilder. But Woodson is just technical and he's accurate and he's very, very good at picking his shots. I'm sure Woodson's going to try to pick him out. He's huge for the weight class too. How big is Sean Woodson? Let me just curious. I think for the weight, because he's a feather, right? Yeah. At feather, he's 6'2" at feather, which is disgusting. So he's 145 pounds, Matt.
That is crazy.
At 6'2". And Colin Anglin is 5'9". Yeah, 5'9". So something to consider. There's going to be a big reach advantage here for Woodson.
Which explains the Vegas odds here.
What are we looking at?
So
I know minus 335 for Vegas.
Yeah, that's pretty steep. Woodson, we're looking at. All right, ready for this?
No.
40.6% ownership. So.
Okay.
At 9.2, looks like he's going to be mega chalk, and then Anglin at 7.7, which is actually the lowest on the card. So there's two complete polar opposites in terms of ownership here, which leads me to believe if you like Anglin whatsoever, people will turn off their TVs if he beats Woodson here, because there's no shot that, you know, at 40.6% ownership that's worth it.
He got fucking washed like in his first fight in Anglin. He got a takedown though. I think he can wrestle a bit, and you
don't sound confident whatsoever. But go ahead.
I think he can.
He can do some things he's supposed to do.
But it was Melsick. Like, I have a high opinion of Melsick striking. Like, I'm not sure who's a better on paper. Melsick's got a better pedigree than Sean Woodson. Sean Woodson is just tough to beat. I mean, Sean Woodson's still 8-1 his professional career, Matt. His only loss is coming to Julian Erosa, which he got choked out. Where maybe Anglin has some advantage on the ground here, because we do know that, you know, Woodson is more of a, you know, stand-up fighter. It's just like, look at what's Woodson's scoring, and he's got what, 2 or 3?
It's not good.
UFC wins. What is it?
To me, it's 82 and 60. That's it.
I mean, he's a sniper, man. He lives up to that nickname. He's a sniper, but snipers don't always score well.
On a card like this, where there's not high finish chances, it looks to me like the public just likes to pick winners and not high scores. Like, that's where they it's not dumb, Matt. It's not a dumb mentality. It is if you're playing GPPs. It's not if you're playing cash. But that being said, I mean, 40.6, Kevin. I mean, that's that looks like that's pretty mind-boggling. I mean, what's the finish chance on this?
Plus, it's a plus.
No.
What is it? Plus 130.
No, that's actually stupid. If it was me and I'm making my GPP builds, I'm not including Sean Woodson in my builds. Like, I'm being dead serious. That's how I'm getting different.
No, that makes sense. I totally get that. And like I said, Matt, like, as weird as it is for GPPs, my only ideology behind that is, like, you know, if you pick the winners on a short slate like this, the winners very well could be the top scorers.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what
I'm not denying that.
The most likely to win. You know, if you pick the 6 most likely people to win for formulating that lineup of 6 people, obviously that easily could be the top 6 scorers. You know what I mean?
Quick DFS tangent here.
Mm-hmm.
If I make this decision to fade Sean Woodson at 40.6%, and he wins and he scores 130 and is the highest score on the slate, is my process incorrect? No, it is not. I made the absolute right decision, even though he won and he knocked him out. That does not mean my process is wrong. So a lot of people, that's where a lot of people, like, they get turned off for DFS, is because when they go through this process and they look at these ownerships, they like to replicate them in GPPs, and they like to take the exact same kind of stances that the public does, and they wonder why they don't win. If Sean Woodson scores like poop, which he should, even if he wins, you look like a genius because you're fading 40.6% of the ownership. Again, we're not playing, you know, this game where you have to get everything right. You don't have to pick the winners. You just have to pick the right stances that don't make sense in terms of ownership. So, you know, that's another thing too. It's like, if Sean Woodson goes out and does absolutely fantastic, I still feel good with fading him at 40.6% ownership. That's my only thing.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more, Matt. And the thing is, like, you're not just like, it's not just him not making the optimal at 40% ownership. There is a chance Anglin wins. So you're really putting, like, great point. Yeah, you know, so I'd put that at, like, now we're looking at, like, there
probably
is
a 50% chance, honestly.
So I'm saying there's probably, like, I don't know what this is just shot in the dark, but what, maybe an 80% chance that Sean Woodson doesn't make the optimal? Like,
honestly,
you know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, if you look at these other, I mean, you know more than me at this point at the entire slate, but to me, yeah, it doesn't look like he has a high chance. So, and again, 40.6%, that's what the public's saying. If you're willing to put 40.6% of Sean Woodson into your lineups and you're saying he has a 40.6% chance of being the optimal, that's not even close to true. Not even close. So anyway, ran over.
Yeah,
DFS tangent over.
No, I agree with that, Matt. I couldn't agree more with that. And like I said, I don't expect him to score well. So in a fight I do expect to score well, we got Miguel Baeza and Kalen Williams next. I'm not going to overcomplicate this one, Matt. You have the highest finish chance on the card, low finish chance card in general.
Wait, which one did you say? Baeza?
Baeza versus Chaos.
Oh, it's like, why does it say fight 4? Did they switch that up? I don't know. Might be different now.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's all the way down here at 4, unless you're skipping over 4 different fights.
Yeah, that's what I do, Matt. Nope, it is fight 4.
Interesting.
Which is weird because
we can go back. We can go backwards. That's fine. I don't care.
When I wrote on this, it wasn't definitely wasn't fight 4. But yeah, on DraftKings.
You can keep talking about it. We'll keep it interesting.
Yeah. I plan to. Don't worry. Don't you worry, Matt.
Gotcha.
I got this one. But you have the highest finish chance on the card. I'm gonna take this one. I really fuck with Baeza, Matt. I think he's really good. I do think he's a better fighter than Chaos. Baeza hasn't shown me any real holes in his game. Even his loss, it was a very close loss to a super tough Ponzinibbio, who himself has won 8 of his last 9 UFC fights. So I do think Miguel Baeza is very tough. I just don't think Chaos is quite at that level, though I do say Chaos is pretty friggin' tough too. He's a good finisher. We've seen him, ruin a couple, definitely a couple favorites parties before. Was it Al Hassan, whoever it was, where he absolutely starched him in like 30 seconds. I think Kalen Williams is very tough as well. He's got big power. He's beaten 3 solid fighters during his 2 years in the UFC, and I think this is going to be a double green, double love lister very easily. So.
All right. Well, another thing. This fight is actually, you're skipping right to the fight that I actually wanted your opinion on. Because when I looked at the ownership and when I'm going through my builds, because I like to build to get a feel for the slate before we talk about it. Chaos was coming out a lot more often than not in terms of the builds here, but just based on median projections and overall builds. Chaos Williams was.
Okay.
And that explains his ownership, which is what I'm going to bring to my next point here, Kevin. He's 33.5% owned, which is actually in that cash category. So it looks like as an underdog choice, it looks like the public is going to Chaos Williams, which makes Baeza great leverage at 29.5%, who's in that GPP category. So I'm assuming you absolutely love Baeza. Chaos Williams, though, do you like him in cash as a cheap option at $7,700?
What's the ownership again?
33.5 for Chaos, and Baeza 29.5.
It's all right.
And again, it's all because of line of construction. That $7,700 is very easy to get to. It's a close underdog, right? They're giving him a 45% chance to win this thing. So pretty good.
Yeah, it's all right. I can't say it's much more than that.
After hearing your Baeza take, that's why I was curious.
That's why I'm curious. Yeah, I like him a lot more in GBP.
You like Baeza in GBP?
Yep.
And Chaos, you're fine with using in cash as a last piece?
No, I like both in GBP. I'm saying I like both in GBP.
I'm saying for cash, do you like Chaos?
I don't know, man. I just don't. I don't think he's the better fighter. I really don't. And but he has, like I said, he's ruined a lot of favorites in his day. But that being said, I've seen him look human against Pereira, and I don't think I do think he's going to be finish dependent. I think that's why. I don't think he outpaces Baeza. Not saying he can't do it.
They're saying he's a volatile fighter for that ownership to make sense. A little bit.
That's why I'm kind of like, but I mean, it's okay. He's cheap if you have to fit him in to get everything else in cash you want. If you have to fit him in to get everything else you want, I'm okay with that, Matt. Because you can take if you are really good about 4 or 5 fighters and you have to get him in to do so, it's not bad at all. It's not bad at all. You can still win and do what you got to do to get who you like in. I'm always a proponent of that.
That being said, Baeza is fantastic for leverage. So let's move on.
Love that. Moving on, we got Cynthia Calvillo versus Andrea Lee. Another headache fight here. 2 solid female fighters that have been on skids lately. Granted, Lee won her last one. I do think off of the eye test that Calvillo is a tier ahead of Lee still. I really don't know, as all these girls' losses these girls' losses are quality for the most part. They both have a ton of losses, but they're all quality. I do know that Calvillo tends to clear more in a win, and Lee has only really scored well in a decision once, and it's a plus 175 finish chance, so we are expected to go to decision here. I think there's a coin flip all around as a winner, though I do, again, think Calvillo's a little better. It's just a headache here, Matt. No way to describe it. What's the ownership here? All
right, ownership on Calvillo is 31.6% ownership, and on Lee, 26.6%, Kevin. So Calvillo is the benchmark at 31.6% ownership. Do you agree with that? That's very weird.
Yeah. It's a little weird. I'm not super confident in that. I do get it, but to a degree just because of her pedigree and kind of who she's beaten in her name, but still a little weird.
That is very odd. $8,200, I guess I get it with the price tag. Are these GBP viable or no? Are these green lights?
They're going to be yellow, Matt. I can't do better than that, even on this card. Yeah.
All right.
I hope Andrea Lee wins. I like her. She's a good fighter, but she's gone through some stuff. She has a piece of absolute shit boyfriend, domestic violence thing going on there.
Really?
Which
They're still together?
I don't know if they're still together. That's a good question. I was actually shocked, to be honest, like looking at him and knowing how much of a fucking savage she is, that she like that's even a thing.
Right.
That she didn't just kick the living shit out of him. It's probably a choice more than anything, because I feel like she just could manhandle him. But
it's just so funny to think about because it's actually true.
no, she would kick the shit out of him. It must be like a, but that's the thing, I don't want to go into a rap about abusive relationships in this, but, it can be a mental thing too, because I'm sure she could head kick him into goddamn Jupiter if she wanted to. And I hope she does next time. But yeah, he's a piece of fucking shit. But anyway, moving on, we got Thiago Moises versus Joelle Alvarez. On yet another episode of Annoying Fighters, Matt. This is Thiago Moises. Like, he almost never clears his price tag. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna yellow him.
Pause for a second.
No, I want my brain paused. I'm gonna yellow him. I'm gonna go green on Alvarez. Okay. I usually love list Alvarez. He's been a love lister twice for us as a punt. He's literally been a punt in this position twice, smoked twice, won us thousands of dollars in the Patreon chat twice. And I'm gonna green light him though, just because as good as he is as a punt, he is the ultimate punt. This is the toughest matchup he's had stylistically. He's a punt because he has superior grappling to the people he's wrestling. I don't know if he has superior grappling to Thiago Moises. He might, but if he does, I don't think it's superior enough to where he's like gonna definitely submit him, even if the fight stays on the ground, or if he can submit him even. I mean, these guys are stylistically very similar. I do think that Alvarez will still be green, and because of that, because if they slow each other down, Matt, and they're both similar styled, who do we want here? We want the guy who's $1,800 cheaper. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We don't. So where if it is a shitty decision and he gets 75 points because they slowed each other down, at least he still has a chance to make optimal.
Right.
So I'm probably not going to take too much of Moises. I'll yellow him and I'll green Alvarez.
Makes sense. 23.6% on Alvarez, which is actually higher than Moises at 16.9. So nobody's on the Moises train.
I wouldn't be either.
Yep, there you go.
But yeah, moving on, we got Song Yadong versus Julio Arce. I think it's actually an okay fight here. Not a love lister or blowing anybody away with this one, but it's a solid double green fight. Arce averages about 83 points in a win, Matt. Yadong averages about 94 points in a win, which, that's right in that pocket of, at this pricing, making optimal for this small, low finish chance slate. It's not my favorite fight. I think it should stay standing. Both guys are very good strikers. They're both technical. They both have put away power. So you could see this one's Matt, it's a plus 140. Every fight you see some, or every slate you see some fight that, isn't expected to go in a decision or isn't expected to end in a finish rather, and it does. And this is one of those ones I think is that candidate. It's a plus 140, could end in a finish. Kind of reminds me of the Alves and Mark Akisi fight. Not expected to end in a finish. Absolutely could. So something there.
All right, it makes sense here. They both have really low ownership as well. Yadong at 26.3 and Arce at 24.3. And I know everybody watching just saw that as well. What is going on in your room?
I don't know. Can you see me? Can you see me because of the white screen? Cool.
Yeah, I can. Did the lights go out?
All my power went out except for
this.
What the fuck is going on with the power in Massachusetts these days, huh?
Yeah, what is that?
Insanity.
I thought you were doing something cool to your camera or something. No,
I'm not that cool, Matt.
Apparently not. But hey,
must go on.
You're still here. I'll let you know if you disappear.
I'm lit up too.
Yeah, you are.
Right.
Yep, cool. You're like an angel sent from heaven. Nice.
Pretty angelic. So yeah, we'll just keep it rocking then. Yeah, so pretty weird fight here, but I think it has potential. What's the ownership again?
Sorry, Yadong was 26.3 and Arce at 24.3, so both in that GPP category.
Yadong's 26.3. Anyway, so moving on, we got Felicia Spencer versus Leah Letson. This is an interesting one, Matt. Nothing like a fight against a title contender to shake off the rust after a 3-year layoff. I mean, Leah Letson is coming in after a literal 3-year layoff. That is the situation we find ourselves in for Leah Letson. Tough one against Felicia Spencer. Felicia Spencer's tough. She fought for the belt. Didn't go too well, but she's still a tough fighter. Just for perspective, the last time Leah Letson fought, Kamaru Usman wasn't even champion yet, Matt. We're talking about him making a streak and run to be the GOAT or the best welterweight of all time. And he wasn't even the champion yet when this girl fought last time. So it's a very long time. Scary for Leah Letson. I'm going to red light her. I get why you might not want it. I think Spencer washes her. Spencer's green. She's been fighting. She's active. I think she should win and does have decent finishability here too. But I will say sometimes Spencer doesn't score great in a decision, but I think she should be a tier ahead here.
Yeah, it looks like it. In terms of ownership, Letson's not really that high owned at all, 16.3, and then Spencer is at 29.4, so right below that cusp. A nice way to get different here if you decide to go Felicia.
Yeah. What's her ownership again? Sorry.
29.5.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I would maybe put her in cash too. Like, I just don't see her. I don't have the confidence in Leah Letson. I wasn't overly impressed in her one UFC fight. So
Industry average has her actually scoring pretty decently in the win, 88.5, which isn't
who's
horrible.
that?
Felicia, sorry.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's
Yeah.
not bad. I mean, it's a tough price tag, but she definitely could still get it done on the slate. Like I said, this is the slate to get 88 and make an optimal. So don't
There you
worry.
go, yeah.
It's possible. Moving on, we got Ben Rothwell.
Wait, this is the one you like?
Yeah, Ben Rothwell, that fat
Okay.
fucking idiot.
There
Yep,
we go. I just want to make sure that was the one.
Yep. So if he gets hit by a truck, that'd be cool. But yeah, Ben Rothwell, obviously my favorite person of all time. There's just, Matt, there's a couple people I just absolutely, hope they get hit by a
TJ,
bus or two.
Ben Roethlisberger,
Oh, yeah.
Ben Rothwell. Yeah.
1 second, I'm just texting my hitman just to finish off Ben. Okay, cool.
There you
go. So yeah, Big Ben.
FBI
actually died. Oh, I'd be on a list. I'd be on every list. Big Ben, Derek Lewis. Maybe I just hate fucking heavyweights, Matt.
It might be a
heavyweight thing. Fat shaming. Big Ben, Derek Lewis. Who else?
Isn't DC a heavyweight?
Yeah, and he's my favorite of all time.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, that's tough. Okay, fair point. So yeah, maybe there's just no consistency. I just hate fucking pieces of shit. Anyway, we'll ignore that one.
We're on the coming.
Yeah,
we almost got the end,
yeah,
guys.
I know. You almost got through this without me being an idiot. Sorry. I know I'm not TJ, but I am not far off. I am pretty stupid. This is just a heavyweight fight, though, Matt, between two people that can crack. I'd love nothing more than to see Rothwell get put to sleep. But Matt, we keep the bias out of here.
Yes,
I think it's a 50-50 either way. It's going to be, Big Ben has a chin. He has a very good chin and hasn't been knocked out in a while or a lot for someone who's taken as many shots as him. He has a very good chin. I think it's one of his best attributes. I don't think he has fought the best grouping of fighters lately to knock him out, though. If you look at his recent list, it's some have been talented but not powerful. Some have been powerful but not talented. I think Marcos Rogerio de Lima is powerful and talented enough to catch him, and especially Ben is getting up there. At some point, the wheels have to come off. I think he's going to be, he's going to fall off. It's just not. It's not if, it's when. I'll tell you this though. Ben is doing something very smart, which I think is preserving his career, Matt. As you see, a lot of these heavyweight and older fighters, it's kind of like it's like a quarterback who's getting older, so he stops falling out of the pocket, or he stops, someone goes to pressure him, he just goes down, like Brady.
Literally Big Ben. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Literally Big Ben. So this is what Rothwell does. He's starting to grapple more, Matt. He doesn't want to eat those fucking lunch boxes from these giant heavyweights.
Right.
So he's grappling more, and we're seeing he's gotten pretty damn good, Matt. He's got a monster guillotine, and Rogerio de Lima has been choked out in all 5 of his UFC losses. And like I said, Ben has developed a monster guillotine. So I think Rogerio de Lima goes to sleep, or he maybe catches Big Ben. So I love this fight. I'm going to level this both sides.
Yeah. All right. This is interesting, Kevin, because the ownership, like as a whole on this fight, is so insanely high. I'm going to pitch you this question after I read the ownership. Rothwell, 46.7% owned, which is the second highest on the slate.
47?
Huh? Yeah, almost 47.
Goddamn.
De Lima, 37.9. So it looks to me like the public is taking one side or the other.
Are you gonna ask me if I can fade it?
No. No. Well,
okay.
Yeah, in GBP.
I'm crazy.
I mean, that's actually almost exactly what I'm asking you, because in cash, can you stack these guys at their price tags?
They don't have the pace. I don't think they have the pace at all. I know it sucks because of the ownership, and you might just be on the wrong side of fucking history on this one, but it's terrible, Matt. It's
based on that, then whoever you take in cash here, you better full 100% fade in GBPs and take the other side and capitalize on that. I think that's a great stance to have.
That's a good way to take it.
If you think it's going to make the optimal, or just not
I
playing GBPs.
I think if you want to get crazy, you could fade it just because they do have shitty paces, and Big Ben has had fights not score well. Like, it does happen. So if neither gets a finish here, I can almost guarantee the winner's going to score like shit.
Right.
It's a big if. It's a minus 170. I mean,
so that is the highest in the slate, which explains the ownership. That's why it's so high on both these guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's tied with the highest, and it's again, it's the highest on this slate, which is like being the tallest midget. It's just like, it doesn't mean anything. It's just it does not mean much. But yeah, Big Ben, out of his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fights, 5 have gone to a decision, win or lose. If it goes to a decision, I don't think it clears.
Right.
Something to be said for that. So I don't know. Maybe you want to get super, super, super fucking weird, and if you fade it, you might put yourself on an island on a short slate, which is tough to do. So I don't hate the idea of that either. If you want to get real weird,
I like that.
Let's move to the main. We got Max Holloway versus your ear. I'm gonna say this, Matt. I think Yair Rodriguez is one of the most underrated fighters in the division. I think I have an extremely higher opinion of him than most people do. And I think he's an elite stud and he's ridiculously dangerous. I want to say that because I don't want to get roasted when I red light him into the shadow realm and I don't touch him. I will never go near him. I don't want people to think like I love Yair Rodriguez. I think he's a monster. I will not even go within a 10-foot radius of him for this fight. You don't bet against Max Holloway. That's it. Hard stance. You don't bet against that guy. Legit, nothing else to talk about. He's tough as hell. He's ridiculously hard to finish. He's the only person who can hang with Volk. And you want to go against a guy, Matt, who just cleared 400 steak strikes? Be my guest. It's your funeral. It's like, that's fine. Go for it. Max Holloway, loading him and everything. I think he can not score well in a 5-rounder. It could happen. It's really weird because Max is one of those guys, like, he's had some terrible, like, do you have Max's scores there, Matt?
Of course.
Citing one specifically here. What was his score against? I want to say it was a 5-rounder. I want to say against Frankie Edgar. What did he score against Frankie
82.
Edgar? 82 points in a 5-fucking-rounder.
Yeah.
So that's definitely the fight I was thinking of.
And Poirier, he scored 77 in a loss, so that
was a loss,
that's pretty
and
good,
that was
though.
lightweight. So I won't hold him to that one. What was there's no more 5-rounders that he made the distance in.
Wow, he's had a lot of fight. Does he only fight 5-rounders now?
His last 5 fights were 5-rounders because
Yeah.
they were all either titles or interim titles
6.
or just anything other. 1,
Ortega.
2, 3, 4, 5. It was. Sorry, he finished him in the 4th. So yes, you're right. You're correct.
Yeah.
It was 6. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't.
That's
go
crazy.
against. Yeah, but that's the thing. He scores 80 in a decision, and then Calvin Kattar fucking scores 209 points.
Right.
So it's like, okay, Max, like, dick, like, what? So I don't know. I probably would say load him up. He looks like he's on a different, pace right now and realm. It's just at this weight class. Volk is very tough, and I think he debatably beat him twice. Volk debatably beat him twice. You can't. There's 2 ridiculously close fights. They're both unreal. It's 1A and 1B. It's it's a 2-horse division. We talked about this when who did Volk just fight? Ortega? Yeah, Volk fought Ortega, and I said the same thing for Volkanovski. I said it's a 2-horse division, and we saw that. I think this is the same thing. I'm gonna red light Yair, which is a little scary, but I'm gonna do it.
All right, so here's my question. Well, by the way, Max Holloway 62%. I think that's McGregor territory when he had the brain and he was actually good. Yair,
he was ever good?
I don't think so, actually.
Ooh, gotta piss some people off. Ooh.
Yeah, there goes half our subscribers because half of them hate him and half of them love him. Rodriguez 15.5, which is actually pretty high. And I'm assuming only because of that 5-rounder is the only thing keeping them somewhat likable here. So let me ask you this: because of Rodriguez's price tag, do you think he can hang in there enough to score well in the 5-rounder enough for a stack?
Yeah.
$6,700 is pretty cheap, very cheap.
Yeah, I could see Max not being able to get him out of there. 100%.
Okay.
100%.
So you see, like, could Rodriguez score like 50 in the loss, you think? Or
Yeah.
40, 50? Okay.
Yeah.
To answer my question, it's stackable, yeah.
Yeah, it depends what Max does. I mean, 50 is a lot.
Max is so much money, dude.
I mean,
95.
do you need him to get 50?
No, you don't. You can probably get 30.
40 something?
Yeah.
I was going to say 6,700. Like,
yeah, you don't need him to do much.
and on this card with not a lot of finish chances, like, I think, I was going to say, because 50 is still, like, you did some shit. I don't know if anyone's doing that much to Max. You know what I mean? Like, you got to think of what 50 entails. You know what I mean? Like, 50 means you're landing, like, I don't even know, probably still 96 strikes or something, 86 strikes, and then maybe 120 total strikes. You mix in a take. Like, you're fighting. And
Right.
I don't know if that's going to happen in this one.
Yeah, I mean, in 5-rounders, again, he's never fought Max Holloway before, but in 5-rounders, he's always scored well. Rodriguez has, so.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to your core, GBPs, and punts.
So, core is going to be Holloway. Highest score on the card. I don't think that's up for debate. GPP plays,
Getting
Kennedy
really
and
contrarian
Jung.
there, by the way. Good.
Yeah, real contrarian. I'm outside the box thinker,
Yeah.
Matt. Kennedy and Jung, 2 power punchers with a combined 18 knockouts and great pricing. Baeza and Williams should end in a finish in 2 very solid fighters. Rothwell and MRL should get a finish here on one side or the other. I see a path to victory for both guys. Crazy high ownership, a little scary, but I do see why. And then my punts is going to be, I literally don't have any punts. I use an old template. I have Alex Caceres.
Oh, that's very contrarian, by the way. Good job.
That might be the most contrarian pick on the slate is having Alex Caceres.
We'll have
Since he's not
some.
on the card.
We'll have. How about this? We'll have Kevin's favorite punts here on DGFantasy.com if you guys want to figure them out. Tomorrow, the ownerships will update, by the way, because they always do. Guys, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for your thoughts and prayers, because everybody's been in our comment section. We haven't gotten any trolls yet, by the way, Kevin. So thank goodness. We might get our first troll in this comment section.
You know, Matt, honestly, guys, Matt's a great guy, and he puts a lot of work in for you guys. So I mean, please keep him in your thoughts and prayers. He's been, he's going through a lot, so and he does a lot for everyone. So
I'll send you $20 now. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If this did interest you, please do hit that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course, smash that like button for all of our future MMA content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your day. Let's cash.